I've got a public apology to make for a comment I made on a previous episode. And this sounds quite scandalous when I put it that way, which, I mean, ultimately...
It really does.
I mean, it is pretty scandalous, but this past week, I ate at a Chipotle. And in the past, on the podcast, I mentioned that I had a Qdoba in my town, and it was so much better than Chipotle, so on, so on. All of that was an absolute lie. I didn't know it at the time, but after last week, I will 100%, not only will I 100% go to Chipotle, instead of Qdoba, I think I am willing to drive the 1 hour it will take me just to avoid Qdoba. And I know you mentioned a similar comment about how I'd go to, drive an hour then before I go to the Qdoba across the street, so on. But nope, I totally agree.
I'm pretty sure I said exactly that.
Yeah. And, I don't really know if this was an apology more as opposed to like a statement of fact I just made, maybe a half apology here, but you were totally right. And I was wrong on Qdoba.
Wow. I feel so vindicated. This just makes me feel so good. I think this might be the highlight of my week is you having to admit that Chipotle is indeed way better than Qdoba. And I literally think I said exactly that, which is I would drive an hour for Chipotle before I would walk across the street for Qdoba. And I just feel so vindicated and happy that you agree with me now.
Oh man. And to be fair, doing, the data guys we are, I got the same essentially meal that I get at both places. So I could do a real comparison, so
good call.
Yeah.
And a proper A/B test. I like it.
I know. I didn't change a single variable too. Same drink, same, chips and queso. I did the chicken burrito bowl. That's like one of my favorite things, but no, it was a good test, a good experiment. And I'm hoping I can write that off as a business expense now. So that we'll have that conversation later, but that's my public apology. But in other news, Gabe, big day this week. Well, big couple days this week, I guess, but it's Amazon Prime Day.
It is. I need to do some research. I'm sure this research exists out there, but I wonder, do you know how much money Amazon, like how much revenue increases from Amazon Prime Day when they do it they always do it around the same time frame.
I think I saw a study a while back. I don't remember the figure, but I feel like it's one of those holidays now where, they could just say it's Prime Day and people are going to flock to the site, But one thing I didn't notice is typically Amazon's competitors also do some kind of midsummer sale. And I haven't noticed much on that yet. I'm curious, have you seen anything? Have you picked up anything from Prime Day maybe?
Oh, I've definitely bought some stuff for Prime Day for sure. Although what's been happening is my wife keeps telling me about all of these things that she's purchased. So I bought one thing for the kids. We got them a couple of like headphones or whatever. So I got that last night. But then I swear every time I've gone into the house, both yesterday and today, she's like, oh, I bought this other thing. Oh, I bought this other thing. When I was in for lunch today, she said, I'm pretty sure we have like 40 things from Amazon that are going to be coming on Friday.
A stack of packages.
A little freaked out. Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, at least they do the Amazon Prime Day where you can just get everything consolidated into a single package. So I don't feel like I'm completely murdering the environment. But yeah, I don't. The credit card.
Well,
bill,
you say that, but it's going to take a whole UPS truck to come to your house now.
That's probably true.
No, I'm happy. Yeah. My wife hasn't bought a single thing from Amazon on Prime Day, so I'm pretty pleased.
There you go.
I shouldn't make that joke.
Neither your wife nor your non-existent wife or non-existent children.
I know the finances for me are pretty good during Amazon Prime Day, so.
I will say I do have the Amazon credit card, so I at least get 5% back on everything that gets purchased through Amazon, which has been quite nice. So I'll gladly take the free money back at least on additional things that I'm purchasing.
I said this in the past, Gabe, but I feel like every episode we talk so highly of a company, it almost sounds like we're sponsored by the company, I am not sponsored by...
take some Amazon money.
Yeah, I'm not sponsored by Chipotle. I wish I was. If someone from Chipotle is listening, please, send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn. But no, we talk so highly of these companies, people are going to get the wrong idea. But no, these opinions are nothing but Gabe and I talking.
We can talk a lot of crap about companies too. So
it just got done saying how bad Amazon's website was a few weeks ago. So
we did. Yeah. And it still sucks. So, and I think going through the conversation today, I think we probably have a couple of shots we can throw at Amazon, but yes, their website is still trash. Amazon Prime Day is pretty great and is an amazing way for them to drive additional revenue in what would be their slowest months of the year, I'm sure. So good job by them for figuring out how to make a ton more money.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still a little salty with Amazon Prime because, the first time they launched Amazon Prime Day, this was a few years ago. I think it was the initial launch, but one of the items that was recommended, and I don't know if I've told you this, Gabe, but one of the items that was recommended for me was a seatbelt extension kit. And I just remember being like so upset with that because that's not quite something I'm in the market for. I hope I'm never in that market, but maybe with this Chipotle and Qdoba talk, that could change. But ever since that recommended product, I've just never been able to take Amazon Prime Day seriously.
Yeah, that's a pretty weird. For those who are not watching this on video, I have a very confused look on my face because Zach is definitely not the target demo for a seatbelt extension. I think you'd probably have to triple in size before that would even be like even a possibility for you.
And I don't know if tripling is going to be enough. Gabe and I actually haven't met in person. We've got the big company event every October in Las Vegas, but Gabe couldn't make it to the last one. But that was one of the comments. And I think you were on that follow-up call, but I got the comment that, and he's really tall and 25 pounds. But no, seatbelt extension kit is not something I am eyeing down. But Gabe, if we meet this fall, you can be the judge of that, I guess.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hopefully we will be.
Well, Gabe, we have a big episode today. This is something we've been talking about a lot.
Let's jump into it.
You and I talk about, we have a lot of these conversations every day with our own customers, but looking at pricing strategy, pricing psychology, a mix between that. And we've got some great examples, but Gabe, why don't you give us a quick introduction into some of these pricing strategies?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is something, as Zach said, we talk about with our customers a lot, and I've been reading just a lot about, and various things I've been looking at, as well as, researching this for competitor information I've been researching. But the general thought process behind the discussion today is to talk about some of these pricing psychology items, I guess, for lack of a better term, and how people perceive them based on how you're actually showing your price to customers out there in the wide world when you're trying to sell them products or services. And I think it's really important to know that we're not trying to trick people into buying specific things, right? Products, services, whatever. We're not trying to use these tricks. We're not trying to use these tools as tricks to get them to do that. We're trying to help people make better decisions about what's ultimately going to be a better experience for them. Zach and I both work in the broadband industry, and one of the things that we see over and over again, and Zach, I'm sure you can add some more color to this as well, but we see this all the time, that people don't understand. The general consumer does not understand how the choice that they make for their internet speed is going to impact that experience. And I think it's really up to marketers and to leaders in these organizations to nudge people to the right place based on what we know is going to provide the best possible experience.
That's totally it, Gabe. And, I like to think you and I are probably more power users. You and I, we like to have the multi-gig conversations, but from a really basic perspective, when you go onto your ISP website, you're looking at broadband, you might see numbers from 50 meg, 100 meg, whatever, all the way up to a gig. And I feel like a lot of consumers, they see that, 50 meg is only, $50. Like that's the one I want, cheapest option. Yep. But in reality, what are you doing with your connection? Are you streaming video? You uploading YouTube videos? What is that experience going to be? Because that price needs to translate into experience at some point. So if you're advertising, just based on these numbers alone, that's not going to mean much to the consumer.
Well, and many people don't even know that 1 gig is faster than 100 meg. They just see the 100 number and the 1 number, and they think that the 100 is faster. So we obviously work in technology. We talk about this stuff all the time. A lot of our listeners, I think, work in technology as well. So, we're fairly familiar with this, but most consumers don't think this way. And so it does become, I think, our job to help educate them and get them into the appropriate experience. And like I said, use some of these tools to nudge them in the right direction to make sure that they're making the best choice. So one of the other things, Zach, I really wanted to make sure we hit on, because I know this drives you insane as well. I know
there's a lot on that list, man.
Yeah, this is true. But I know this is one particular that bothers you, and it really bothers me too, is when we don't see prices on somebody's website. So that to me is just a non-starter. If you are not sharing your price and being transparent about your pricing to customers, if I go to your website and I can't easily find how much your product or service costs, I'm out, because I'm going to go to one of your competitors who is transparent about that and at least tells me straight away without having to go through maybe 5 different steps to actually understand, what that cost is going to look like. I know, as I said, Zach, I know you've got some strong opinions about this as well, but I mean, what's your experience been there?
Well, Gabe, I totally agree with you on this one. One of the things I also see is people saying, "Oh, I don't want my competitors to see my pricing, my packages, whatever that is." So they hide it behind, make an account. They hide it behind an address wall, whatever that is. But those strategies are just, if your competitor is looking for your prices, they will find it. It's not as simple as you think it is. But I always use the example of bank rates, buying a house, buying a car, whatever that situation may be, maybe savings accounts too, but looking at interest rates. If you've got two banks in town, one of them has no rates listed on their website and one of them has their interest rates listed. Maybe they're advertising even, I shouldn't say this now, but low refinance rates, whatever that situation may be. Chances are,
probably not right now.
Yeah. Give me 12 years ago or 12 months ago, but the chances are you're going to go with, the one who's advertising their rates. You know what it is, you know what you're getting into, so on. I think of Goldman Sachs, even they've got the high yield accounts with, I don't know what the rate is now. It's above 1%, but they're advertising that. Whereas, if I go to a bank down the street who says nothing about their rates, I'm skeptical, I'm rate shopping. I'm just going to avoid them because there's no information there. So I think you're exactly it. If it's not on the website, consumers would steer away from that if they can. And it's just going to lead them right into your competitor.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so let's talk about some of the best practices and things that we would recommend for putting pricing on your website. And we're going to walk through some, I guess, kind of tips here today. We'll just kind of walk through each one of these, and hopefully folks find this helpful. I'm going to start right up at the top of my list here. And the first one that I want to talk about is big font equals big price. And there's a psychology where if you see a price in very large font, you think that it automatically is expensive. So if you are putting prices on your website, hopefully you are, as Zach and I just talked about, but when you put prices on your website, make sure that they aren't in really, really big font, because that's going to turn people off and make them think that it's a big price. The other one that I think is really relevant for, just whether you're going to put prices on your website or not is dollar signs. So dollar signs trigger a pain of buying. And I think an interesting example of this is Best Buy. Best Buy does not put dollar signs on any of those yellow tags that they have around the store. So they've got all these yellow tags slapped up on stuff, although I honestly haven't been into a Best Buy in quite a while, but I'm assuming
you and me both, man. But, I only know the yellow tag from the branding, so I'll just let you lead that conversation.
Yeah. But even in their online ads, in places on their website, they still kind of have that yellow tag, but it doesn't have a dollar sign anywhere on it. I kind of think of it similar to almost kind of like gambling. So I know, I think I'm more of a gambler than you are, Zach, but if you go into a casino, if you were to put cash down every single time you were making a bet, nobody would gamble, because there's that pain of, I'm actually losing physical money here, right? And you still get some of that when you lose chips, because the chips obviously equate to money. But that's part of the genius of the casino is you go in, you put your money down once, they give you a bunch of chips, and then you're just playing with chips, to use my air quotes here, right? So it's much less like you're actually losing dollars, and it's the same thing with that dollar sign trigger.
Yeah, Gabe, I'm not much of a gambler, and by much I mean at all. But no, I think that's a very fascinating example, having that dollar substitute in that case come in, and you don't realize money's going out.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably similar with a credit card versus actually paying with cash. I think probably people are more likely to spend more money on a credit card than they are on when they're actually having.
Do people still use cash? But, is that?
I mean,
I can tell two good stories right now. One is, I can't tell you the last time I used cash. I know how. I just haven't done it. But I think I mentioned this on an earlier podcast too. But like with writing checks too, you writing the dollar amounts on, same kind of
Hmm.
concept here.
Yeah.
I'm not a check guy either. I've only written one check in my life, and coming from banking and finance, luckily I knew how to do it. But man, the digital wallet, the credit card, that's really my route. But again, like you mentioned, that the actual dollar component's taken out of the equation, and you may not realize how much money's coming in, how much money's going out. So it's all psychology
Hmm.
at that point.
Yep, absolutely. The other one, just as it relates to how to kind of show some of these numbers on your website, is that exact numbers seem bigger. So if you're putting numbers out on your website, if you were selling something really high priced, the example would be $12,000 with a dollar sign and 12,000 is going to seem a lot bigger than if you just abbreviated it to 12K. So that obviously is a pretty extreme example with a very high priced item, but there's just a psychology of, oh, there's this exact number, it must be more expensive. Um, the other one we definitely wanted to drill into a bit was price anchoring and seeing higher priced items first. And Zach, I know you had a really good example here that I really was hoping you could share around Netflix and how they were doing this, because I thought it was a really interesting and smart move of how they were price anchoring their different subscription options.
Yeah, you bet, Gabe. And a couple more examples here. Number one I want to talk to you is if you've gone and signed up for a Netflix account, you've seen this. But you've basically got three plans as of today: basic, standard, and premium. But when you go to the website to check out, the premium one is the one that Netflix is highlighting on their website. It's bright red. It says video quality, best resolution. It's got the two options, but they're really pushing you to get that premium option. When you look at the other two options, though, they're kind of faded out. It's like a light gray. To me, it reminds me of like one of those competitor tables where you have like your product versus your competitors, and they're trying to make the
Mm-hmm.
competitors look bad. That's what this looks like to me. But the pricing's grayed out. It's using the terminology like basic, standard, and who wants a basic product? Like the video quality for the basic plan is good. Like, do I want good or do I want best? So what Netflix
Mm-hmm.
is doing, they're drawing you into that premium plan, hoping that's the one you will end up checking out and buying. They're highlighting those features. They're not only highlighting the features, but they're actually highlighting the actual plan on their website. But they're really trying to shift your attention into that premium plan. That way, when you look at the other plans, you say like, oh, like I'm going to lose features. I'm going to lose video quality. I don't want these. I don't want basic. I want the premium.
Right. Well, and you're also being anchored to that 1999 price point. So they anchor you to that 1999, and then even if you fall back to the 1499, you still kind of feel like you're getting a good deal because you've anchored to that higher price point. The other thing, and I know you mentioned this, but just to hit on that point further, they show the 1999 in a red color. So red numbers feel like a bargain to us because our minds have adjusted to red being a sale price. And I think it's really interesting that Netflix actually, like you said, grays out, puts them in a completely different color, the other pricing, those other price points. Whereas the one that they really want you to buy, which is that premium, is red. It's, looks like a deal. It's also 1999. I know this is another one, right? Psychologically, we always round down. So that's why you see all the time 1999 versus $20, versus just that round number, because 1999 in our mind becomes $19, not $20. And so, if you're anchoring it to, one of those prices, I think it's really important to, have that. That's why you see the $9.99 or $19.99 or whatever all over the place. There's a reason for that.
And Gabe, I think I've had these exact conversations with friends where it's like, oh, how much do you pay for Netflix? And it's always, $19. Everyone's rounding that down. No
Mm-hmm.
one's going to say 19.99. No one's going to say $20. It's always, oh, I'm paying, whatever the Spotify premium plan is, for students. I think it's like $5, but it's going to be, oh, I'm paying $9 for Spotify premium versus the $10 it actually is. But everyone's going to round down. And I feel like now that I mentioned that, people will kind of catch up and be like, oh man, I do that. But rounding down is another pricing strategy too, because I mean, realistically, $9.99 versus $10, it's a penny difference. So it's not like you're sacrificing all this extra income.
Yeah.
But rounding down is a strategy.
it's the psychological component of this is really interesting, Zach, because you're absolutely right about the people want to feel like they got a good deal too, right? So it's interesting that when you say that when you're talking to friends, they're always kind of doing that rounding down because it's making them feel like they got a better deal.
That's totally it. And when it comes to Netflix, getting that good deal on your Netflix plans, assuming you're paying for the account. I think we didn't even talk about that, but these Netflix plans, who's out here sharing their accounts? You don't even know what the pricing is. So I feel like, me walking through that pricing was the first time so many people have heard that. But yeah, those are your Netflix plans.
It's a really good point. Although I did see, you sent this to me earlier today. There's the announcement today, I think, that they're going to be doing an advertise led plan, right? Where you can get it even cheaper if you're willing to take ads.
And Gabe, let me ask you this. Do you have Netflix right now, whether or not you pay for it?
I do, and I pay for it.
Okay. Just checking. I do, and I don't. But
so Netflix, do not come.
Would you consider an ad-supported plan instead of what you have now with no ads?
No, I would not.
You wouldn't. And
I'm too used to having no ads. It's the same thing with Spotify. I will gladly pay the Spotify premium to not have ads in all of the music.
And I feel like it
is worth it to me.
I feel like a lot of this is generational too, just because growing up, a lot of the content I consumed was streaming. It was Hulu, Netflix. So you don't see these TV ads, I think like watching like college basketball, college football games, you get ads, so you're exposed to it that way.
Oh
but
my gosh,
I think
it's so brutal.
I think there's a point where you forget advertising on TV is a thing. And I just don't think I couldn't do it. If it means that I have to pay, I don't know, $19 or whatever, to avoid seeing these ads, that's a cost that I'm willing to do. Is that the same for everyone? Probably no, probably not. There's benefits to having that cheaper plan, obviously. But yeah, if it means not seeing those TV ads, I'll pay that cost.
Yes, glad it is so we've reached the point where Netflix now feels like a luxury item where we're happy to pay that additional money for. And speaking of luxury items, that actually leads us nicely into the next thing that we want to talk about, which is round numbers seem more expensive because we associate that with luxury items. So something like not that I would ever do this, but like a $4,000 suit or something, right? That's just way outside.
Where are you shopping, man?
But, yeah, definitely not doing that. But we see those large round numbers and we just associate that with luxury. So that again gets back to that 1999 versus 20. That's obviously not as an extreme an example, but it's
Gabe. Another example I think we could use here is Apple and the iPhone. The iPhone 13 Pro.
Absolutely.
The price for that phone is $999. That's a huge difference, whether you want to believe it or not, between a $1,000 phone. If Apple raised that price $1, I think the consumer sentiment around that price, around that product, would change quite a bit. $1,000 phone, even though it's already at $1,000 phone. But just, saying, it's a $900 phone and rounding down. But getting rid of those round numbers. Well, there you go,
right? It's the round down. If you go out and buy a new iPhone and you tell your friends, I got a new iPhone and iPhone whatever, right? And they're like, how much did it cost? I guarantee you're saying $900 and not $1,000.
No, man, you gotta trade in, you gotta recycle your own phone so you get that discount. But no, absolutely. There's a huge difference, as I mentioned earlier, between a $999 product, a $1,000 product, a 99-cent product, whatever that may be. There's a huge difference. If you're selling a $1,000 suit, phone, whatever, drop the price $1. It's going to cost you $1 in that revenue. But as you said, you're avoiding the round numbers at that point. You're giving people that illusion of rounding down. So a couple benefits there.
So I'm going to diverge the podcast for just a moment here because I have to do a brief show and tell. So for those who are watching this on video, my wife and I were cleaning out some drawers this weekend and I found an iPhone 4 that is still in the box. It was sitting in the
mint
box
condition.
It's pretty mint, man. I must have had it in a case because it actually looks in pretty good shape. I was actually surprised at how close it still looks to an iPhone. It's obviously a lot smaller. That's one piece of it. And the headphone jack is in the top, man. And do you remember when they moved the headphone jack from the top to the bottom and people were legitimately pissed off?
I don't remember that. I remember when they removed the headphone jack.
It was completely a huge thing. Yes. Well, that was a separate problem that people got upset about that too. But no, when they moved the headphone jack from the top to the bottom, people were like legitimately mad. There was a whole like, I'm never going to buy an iPhone again
And here we are.
conversation.
I feel like it doesn't make sense
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
So I just got a notification on my watch saying my Chipotle rewards account is activated, and I've got some points coming in. So how about that for timing? But I feel like
beautiful.
and what do I know? But I feel like having the headphone jack at the bottom of your phone just makes more sense. The plug-in is already down there.
I'm just,
what year did that phone come out, Gabe?
I'm sure it did. Oh my gosh, I don't even know, man. I meant to look it up, and well, the original iPhone I think came out in 2007.
I think was it 2007?
Okay, I don't know. Anyway, we'll call it.
What do I know? I wasn't.
So iPhone 4 was probably 2011, 2012, something like that. So it's a solid 10-year-old phone.
You should plug it in and make a phone call. Can you?
Well, the problem is I don't even have a plug for it because it's a completely different plug that's on the bottom. It's not the lightning port. It's the previous version. So I don't even know if I have an actual cord to charge it.
I didn't know they had a previous version, but here we are.
Yeah,
it's 2022, man.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Sorry for the diversion. I've been meaning to show you that, and I had to.
You ought to put that in a museum somewhere. Keep that safe.
For sure, that is very true. So one other, kind of the last one I wanted to hit on here was an example that Snickers actually use. So specific numbers anchor our expectations, and what I mean by that is Snickers actually increased their sales by 40% by using a very specific number in their ads. So the only thing that they changed was their ad copy, and they changed it from "buy them for your freezer" was their previous tagline, and they changed that to "buy 18 for your freezer." So all they did was change that language, but because they gave a very specific number, they increased sales significantly because then people were anchored to that figure. So I think it's just an interesting concept to think about. I'm not totally sure how to tie that one back, Zach, to a broadband service provider. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts if you've got any clever ideas.
Buy 1 gig versus buy 10 gig. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go, something like that. But maybe it is, right? Maybe it's maybe it is actually just recommending a specific service. Buy 1,000 meg of downstream today, or something. I don't know. But I do think it's interesting that when you put a specific number in there, people anchor to that number, and then they're more likely to purchase more because they have that number in their head.
And Gabe, I think this is a fantastic opportunity to just do an A/B test. Do one number, do the other one, and see what the results are for you. I guarantee. I would almost promise that Snickers did an A/B test on this, and if they ended up going with the 18, that's why they did it. They saw it was successful. So do that A and B test. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't at this point. If there's a different version of your ad that's going to perform better, there's only one way to find out.
It's a great point, right? And just like you A/B tested Qdoba versus Chipotle, right? We got to go through.
See, the problem with that is I don't know if I really changed a variable, though. I mean, I changed the restaurant, of course, but
well, see, that's good. You just changed one variable. Then I think it's actually a proper A/B test.
I totally agree. Scientific test. I should do another one this week.
There you go. Sounds good to me.
We talk way too much about food on this podcast.
I know. I always get way too hungry when we talk about this. When we talk on this podcast, but yeah, it's bad. So one other thing that we want to talk about, and this kind of ties back to Amazon actually, which is kind of where we started this conversation, but is around loss aversion. So Amazon does a really good job of this, and I want to use that as an example, but there's another really good example that I like here, and it's an example of scaling up versus scaling down. So there was a study that was done a few years ago where they looked at pizza, and there were two options. There was a base pizza that was $5, and then you could add a topping for 50 cents. So every topping you added 50 cents to the cost of that pizza. They also had a fully loaded pizza that was $11, and you got 50 cents of savings for every topping that you took off. And because we don't want to lose things as humans, we have loss aversion. We don't want to lose stuff. in this example, the revenue was significantly higher for that fully loaded pizza where people had to take something away than the base pizza where they had to add something in. The average number of toppings in the fully loaded pizza was over 5, whereas in the base pizza, it was only 2.5. So there's a significant difference there in the amount of revenue that, in this case, we were able to drive from a pizza place. Again, talking more about food. But I think that's just a really interesting example of the psychology of scaling up versus down and that loss aversion where people don't want to lose things. And so if you're bundling your services together, make sure that you're articulating to people what they're actually going to lose by potentially not taking those services from you.
I think that's a great call out. And I think we've seen that. I see a lot on like telecom plans, or I guess cell phone plans. Verizon, specifically is they've got their features built out. You can add on this for, $5 a month, or you can just get the next tier up and have it all inclusive, kind of so on, so on. I'm not a big pizza fan, Gabe. So, you tell me if you're going into a pizza shop. I shouldn't have said that. Now we're going to have all the hate mail again, Qdoba all over again. But if you're going into a pizza shop, Gabe, are you going all inclusive, or are you going to just buy the individual toppings or remove toppings?
I mean, I'm probably just going for, the all in kind of situation, you know what I mean? With all of the stuff that I want, but, versus just, adding random things on.
Oh yeah. So people like that all inclusive.
Probably go for
I think people like that all inclusive plan, that unlimited plan. I mean, we see that back to cell phones, back in the day, apparently this predates me. I just know it was a thing, but you paid for the data on your phone. Whereas now is most carriers say unlimited data, like have fun with it, and
dude, you used to pay for text messages. So when texting first came out, there was a cap on the number of texts you could send a month. And then if you went over that, they would hit you up with overages. That was a thing.
That's why
that actually happened.
Snapchat should.
I know.
Snapchat should like charge you for the snap. Maybe that's like the modern day equivalent. Could you imagine the bill for that?
Yeah. Well, it would completely run them out of business, unfortunately.
Well, speaking of these subscription prices, though, Gabe, this is some news from yesterday, but I don't think this has hit the U.S. yet. Well, I mean, I'm not affected. I don't drive a BMW, but BMW is offering a heated seat subscription now, so you can pay. I don't remember the price. Was it $8 a month or $20 a month? Whatever it is, 18. I don't know what it was. And you can have access.
I think it was like 38. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was low.
Really high.
And you pay this.
It was not low.
You pay this monthly fee, and you have access to the heated seats that are already in your car. But you can use that subscription. So I feel like automakers are really trying to bring the subscription model into their own business. Tesla does this with Autopilot. There's an Autopilot subscription, which is a little different to me than a heated seat. But you can also just buy the heated seat unlimited package. You pay the $500 for the lifetime of your vehicle, assuming you own it, X amount of years, and you can use those heated seats. But it's just wild to me to see that we've taken these subscription models, these prices for these subscriptions to that level. I would buy it. I live in the cold.
And bringing this back, oh, dude, I can't. I kind of can't believe. Excuse me. I kind of can't believe they're doing it, but it was only a matter of time, right, before they started doing stuff like this. But bringing it back to the loss aversion thing, I guarantee you, if you were, or if BMW is doing a good job at this, which I'm sure they're going to do a wonderful job marketing this service, although people seem really mad about it, so maybe they're not doing such a great job. But if you signed up for the heated seats and you decided 6 months later that you wanted to cancel, what they should do is remind you how cold it is in the area that you live and what the morning temperature looks like. How much more wonderful it would be with heated seats.
If you really want to, you could say you've used heated seats this amount of time in this kind of condition. Like you've used heated seats 75% of the time when the temperature was below 50 degrees. Maybe that's a statistic they want to use. Just using that data they probably have and reminding people to keep sending them money.
Absolutely. Well, and Amazon Prime is, I think, a great example of this. When you go to cancel Amazon Prime, they don't talk to you about the benefits of Amazon Prime. They don't tell you about, you're going to get free shipping and blah, 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 blah. They talk to you about all of the things that you're going to lose. You've saved $400 in shipping costs by having Amazon Prime over the last 12 months or whatever the time frame is. You've been able to consume this much content on Amazon Prime Video by having this particular solution. So they're turning up the contrast of what you're going to lose, not necessarily what you're going to gain. I mean, I think you've gone through this actual process, right, Zach, with canceling Amazon Prime?
Oh yeah, I've gone through the 20,000, click through windows to cancel Amazon Prime. And it tells you, it gives you a rundown, it shows you the products you've bought on Prime, shows you how you've used Prime. They want to keep you, and it flat out says you will lose access to these Prime benefits, and it has a list of, all of those services you've used. So they really do try to keep you, from canceling your Amazon Prime. Didn't affect me. I canceled anyway, just because I get to a point game where 2-day shipping is so common that if I need something, in 2 days, I can typically find it from somewhere. Whereas if I need it immediately, I can just go downtown and buy it. So I don't use Prime that much, not to hate on Prime after we talked them up so well at the beginning. But Gabe, we did have a podcast episode probably a month or two ago. It was probably one of our initial episodes, but we talked about using the data you have to market to your subscribers, your customers, whatever your situation may be. And I think, the conversation we just had with BMW, Amazon too, I think that episode is a great listen. If you haven't listened to that one yet, definitely go back and learn how to use that data, learn how to leverage that data that you hopefully already have to better appeal to your prospects, your customers, whoever they may be.
Yeah. No, I know we talked about a bunch of different examples of how people are doing that. And I think that BMW example is a really good one, right? Of, using that data and then tying it into this loss aversion of, not wanting to lose out on these features that you've been using. So I know we've kind of talked about a lot of topics today. Let me give you the kind of like TLDR, the summary version.
That's the too long didn't read for those. I don't know, for those who didn't catch that.
Yes, exactly. So too long didn't read. So big font equals big price. So don't use massive font unless you want your customers to think that it's a large price and that it's expensive. Get dollar signs off of your marketing materials because those trigger the pain of buying. So think about Best Buy as an example for that. Exact numbers seem bigger. So if you're selling high ticket items, try not to have all of the commas or the dots and then a bunch of zeros after that, those sorts of things. Keep those as rounded figures. Put your highest priced items first or highlight those highest priced items like Netflix has done. I thought that was a great example, Zach, around, putting their premium offer first. And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we kind of have these other options, but at least that anchors your customer to that high priced item. And then even if they fall back to your middle tier, it's still going to be higher revenue than, your baseline or your entry level tier. Again, using that Netflix example, numbers in red. So they've highlighted that red number in their premium tier. Because they know that red numbers seem like more of a discount to folks, and then actually change the color of the basic and the middle package. Also, something they've done, just to continue on this Netflix conversation, but the $19.99 versus $20. Even though it's only a penny less, in our minds we always round down. So we're always going to round down. Even in the example that Zach used of the iPhone being a $999, we're not going to say it's $1,000. We're going to say it's $900. And then using those specific numbers in your marketing. So buy 18 for your freezer versus just buy them for your freezer. There's a great opportunity there to anchor your customers to a particular number to increase revenue. And then the scale up versus scale down and this whole idea of loss aversion. And we don't like to lose things as humans. And so if we can frame up that marketing in what people are losing versus what they're gaining, I think it's a great opportunity to get people into the right services that we know are going to benefit them, that we know they're going to be happier with long term. But because people, especially in things that they don't understand, to take this back to the start of this conversation, they typically just go with the cheapest option, and that isn't necessarily going to be the best experience for them.
Gabe, I think this was a great discussion. I really enjoyed talking about these pricing strategies and pricing psychology and everything today.
There's so much here.
So much content in this episode. And so many references back to previous episodes. So definitely go back, give those a listen. We talked about the how to use your data. We talked a little bit about A and B testing. So we've talked about that in previous episodes as well. But thanks everyone for joining us today. I definitely enjoyed the discussion we had. especially when we talked about Mexican food and Chipotle, but mostly pricing psychology. But don't forget to give us a follow on your favorite podcast app. And if you'd like, you can connect with both Gabe and myself on LinkedIn. And if you want, you can also catch the video podcast on Spotify and YouTube as well. So as I mentioned, go back, give those other episodes a listen, and we'll be back next week with some additional content. We'll see you then.